JB.
What's up?
Action Jackson is going to do a cross-examination of Higgins.
What we've been waiting for.
Bloodbath. Bloodbath.
What we've
Right?
been waiting for.
So you want to set this up a little bit as far as what we've done?
What we're trying to do, America, is cut the videos down a little bit. Yeah, we don't want 2-3 hours. We get you. We got you. We know not everybody can sit around and watch all that.
Instead of 3 hours, it's 2 hours and 59 minutes.
Well, I got down to 56.
Okay.
Saved you 4 minutes. No, we're trying to cut them down to maybe an hour, hour and a half. So this way you're not bored with the setup. So we're going to start here where Jackson is cross-examining ATF Higgins. And we already established, so what I did was we skipped the part where we established that he knows the Alberts, that he got into a fight with Eric Hernandez. He knows Eric Hernandez. And that the judge sustains pretty much every question.
Objection sustained.
So we skipped some of the boring parts for you. So let's get right to it.
Yeah.
Steve.
Badoosh.
Our fans have been waiting for this. This is a good one.
May I inquire?
May I?
Yes.
You may.
Relatively close friends. In addition to being close friends with Brian Albert, you're also relatively close friends with his brother, Kevin, correct?
I am.
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police Department. Is that right?
Yes.
And you've worked in the same physical office with him for a number of years?
Physical building.
Physical building, that's a better way to put it.
It's different.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that you've consulted with Kevin Albert on certain of his cases professionally, is that right?
I've assisted.
And you've also socialized with him, shared drinks with him,
Yes,
gone out to bars with him, is that right?
Yes, I have.
It's fair to say that you know the Albert family relatively well.
I would say that I know Brian and Kevin the best.
On January 28th, you drove your Jeep Wrangler to the Hillside Bar to meet up with Brian Albert for drinks, correct?
I did.
You said you drank 3 to 4 whiskey sodas at the Hillside, is that right?
It'd be Jameson and ginger, not whiskey soda.
My mistake. Jameson and ginger. Jameson is Irish whiskey.
Ginger. That's pretty good.
And ginger is ginger ale?
Yes.
Okay. What was Brian Albert drinking?
If I was to guess, a beer.
I don't want you to guess.
A beer drinker.
Do you know what he was drinking?
No, I don't.
Beer.
He was drinking
He was
something?
drinking something.
Okay. Alcoholic.
Yes.
You two were probably going round for round. In other words, finish a drink, get another round for the two of you, finish it, get another round.
I don't think.
Normal?
No, I wouldn't say we were going round for round.
So he was nursing one beer while you had 4 Jamesons?
Well, it would have taken.
That's normal.
Say that again.
He was nursing one beer while you had 4.
Wait, you just made me look like a drunk.
No, he was probably, maybe he had more beers than I had Jamesons is more what I would say.
Okay, so maybe he had 5 or 6 beers while you had 4 Jamesons.
I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't know.
But it was more.
Yeah, you don't know.
More than what?
More than you.
Maybe.
Belanja. Cranberry juice.
That's what I drink.
It's natural diuretic. My girlfriend drinks it.
He wasn't there that long.
Well, it doesn't take
Got
that
your period.
long beer, does it? And if you're sort of thirsty and in a hurry,
I can drink 6 beers in an
Is that
hour.
a question?
everything I say up here is
If
a
I want
question.
to.
Okay.
Just presume that.
All right. So
Well, that wasn't, so.
Well, clearly.
Shut your mouth, Judge.
Yes, Mr. Higgins, that was.
Yeah, nobody asked you, Bev.
All right, let me put a question mark at the end of that.
And
Okay.
There
Your
you
memory
go.
that Brian Albert had
Tracy
more
Mack.
drinks than you did when you had those 3 to 4 Jameson and Gingers.
to be honest with you, I wasn't keeping track.
That's acceptable. Not everybody keeps track.
He left Hillside and you stayed, correct?
For a short time, yes.
Bet you did.
You later changed your mind and ultimately decided to go to the waterfall. You finished whatever you're eating or drinking, and decided to go over to the waterfall, right?
Yes, because I'm always saying I'm going to show up and then I kind of do the Irish exit. So I decided it was a long day. It was an emotional day, and I decided to join them.
Did you drive your vehicle over there
Yes, I did.
after having as many as 4 whiskeys?
Yes.
Brian Albert, did he drive himself?
that'd be a DUI.
Well, I didn't see him. I dropped him off in Boston PVD district down there in Charlestown, and I'm assuming he drove back towards that way to meet me.
He wasn't with anybody else?
Not that I know of.
So he was drinking at the Hillside Bar and then got in his car and drove over to the waterfall as well.
I didn't see him drive over, but I assume that's what he did, yes.
You went to John O'Keefe's house. I'm going to shift gears for a second. You went to John O'Keefe's house at some point to watch the Patriots game on January 16th, right? Yes. That was the time when you indicated that when you left, Karen gave you a kiss goodbye, correct?
Yes.
It's safe to say that that was not some hot, passionate, long kiss, but you think it was more than just a friendly peck, correct?
I wouldn't describe it as a peck. I'd describe it as more than friends. It was a kiss.
Well, you did describe it as a peck, didn't you?
When?
When you texted Karen Reed and she said it was just a peck, and then you texted back, I agree.
Figure of speech.
Okay.
Or the truth, right?
Figure of speech.
After that incident, it's safe to say, we've just gone through a number of them, you exchanged flirtatious texts with Miss Reed, is that right?
Is the incident you're referring to when she kissed me?
No, I'm saying after that. After that incident, yes, after the Patriots game.
Okay, yep.
You exchanged flirtatious texts.
We did.
With Miss Reed.
I did.
And that was over the course of a few weeks, a couple of weeks, but just 9 days. Is that right?
So it was between the January 12th and I would say before the 28th. Because the 28th, she didn't respond, and the 29th, she sent that last text that John died.
Well,
those weren't.
You've looked at the text, right?
I have.
2 weeks.
You just looked at the last couple of texts.
Roughly
I did.
2 weeks.
The last text that she sent of any substance was January 23rd, right? Almost
Well,
a week.
I think the text.
Almost a
I think the text on the 29th, John died. There's substance there.
Okay, I'm not suggesting.
not
I'm
talking about that, though.
After you said, well,
Yeah.
on the 28th, right? The text of substance between the two of you, talking between the two of you, not the John died text. That substance ended on the 23rd, didn't it?
I'd have to have the text in front of me to agree with you.
I think it's right here, Mr. Jackson, right in front of the exhibits right there.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
See that thing she's holding? Mm-hmm. Now I know what it reminds me of. An old athletic supporter.
A jock.
A jock strap. The cup? An old cup. That's what it reminds me of. Always putting her face in an old cup talking.
Thank you.
That's what it reminds me of.
There you go.
Old athletic supporter. Steve, show a picture of an old athletic supporter.
Okay, are you directing me to the 23rd?
I'm directing you to the last page. Just look at everything on it and tell me if that refreshes your recollection. This is the last substantive text about you and Karen before your well.
Yes, it'd be the 23rd at 9:40.
Okay?
Yes.
That's only 9 days of texting.
So
That's
9
not.
days of texting between the two of you, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
And aside from the kiss goodbye, you two never had any sort of physical contact with one another.
Do you mean intimate when you say physical?
Correct.
Yes.
I'm not talking about shaking her hand, Mr. Higgins.
Yeah.
Well, I want to answer your question truthfully.
I would like you to, too. You didn't have any physical, intimate contact with Miss Reed, correct?
No, I did not.
There was no other hugs or kisses or certainly no sex.
No.
And when she said, I'm glad you came over tonight in one of those texts that you just read a few minutes ago, she was referring to the Patriots game with John there and a big crowd there, correct?
Yes.
Over the course of that week or so, Ms. Reed did explain her feelings about her relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, correct? In text messages.
During the pendency of our communication, she did express,
Right.
yes.
And she indicated that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating someone, et cetera. We saw those texts. Is that right?
Yes.
She also indicated that in terms of the situation in Aruba, she was upset by that, but it's not that big a deal. Correct?
It was clear to me she was upset.
And she said, I don't care too much about that other girl. Right?
Well, at least that's what she said in text, yes.
That's what I'm asking you. Is that what she said in text, Mr. Higgins? It's not a trick question.
That's what she said in text.
Right.
There you go.
She said something along the lines
humble
of,
pie right there. Right?
I'm just trying to be realistic. There's cracks in the relationship. It's far from perfect. Is that right?
I think that's something she texted.
All right. And you'll agree that during the course of these texts, you were constantly asking for clarity and explanation from her, were you not?
During our communication, I did ask for clarity.
Many times.
Yes.
You saw it, correct?
Yes.
And she pretty much wouldn't answer you, correct?
She was non-committal, I would say.
Which is why you were saying in your texts, why won't you answer the question? And she would parry and not answer that one either, correct?
Yep.
Well, I didn't want to be stuck in the middle of anything.
That's not my question. I'm asking you whether or not she would answer your question about clarity specifically.
She avoided questions about text.
Right. And that was frustrating because you were very interested in her romantically at that point, correct?
I was attracted to her. I don't know that I would say very interested in her.
You texted things like, why did you get my number and reach out? That's a quote from the text we just read, correct?
I did ask that, yes.
You said, now what? Is that right?
Yes.
You texted, so now what? Correct?
Yes.
You texted, I would hang out, meaning with you.
Yes.
Correct? You were showing interest in her.
Yes.
You were showing romantic interest in her.
I wouldn't say it was romantic. I was trying to vet it out.
Well, you weren't seeing if she wanted to go see a ball game with you as a buddy, right?
Not really, no.
No, you were showing romantic interest in her, weren't you?
Yeah.
I was trying to vet out was her interest in me legitimate. It was very normal for me to have that question in my mind when I didn't initiate this, she did. And I think it was a fair question just to try to find out.
You were showing romantic interest in Karen Reed, weren't you?
Yeah, it's okay to say yes.
I was interested, but I don't think I was at the romantic phase.
Okay. When I say romantic, well, what do you mean by romantic? What's the romantic phase?
Exactly.
Sending somebody flowers?
Get clarity.
Dating?
Well, there's a difference between dating and hanging out. I mean, it's kind of hard to date somebody when you have a boyfriend.
Mr. Higgins, well, it's not if both people are dating other people, right? Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, I think I asked that question too.
Right. That's not my question. My question is, you seem to have a problem admitting that you had a romantic interest in my client. Is there a reason for that?
I was attracted to her.
Right. Physically attracted.
I thought she was an attractive woman.
Romantically attracted.
I'm not going to go there. No, I don't agree with that.
Of course you're not going to go there because that would put you in a very awkward position, wouldn't it, sir?
Yes.
Objection.
That would secure his spot in the love triangle.
To the form, you can ask it differently, and that answer will be stricken now.
I'm sorry.
He doesn't want to say it.
Yes.
You were sexually attracted to her.
I was physically attracted to her, yes.
Sexually attracted to her was my question.
Well, I think in the text I said, you're hot.
Okay. So my question again, Mr. Higgins, you seem to not want to answer my question. My question is, were you or were you not sexually attracted to my client?
Do you want to taste of the flavor or what?
Taste the rainbow.
You were saying things like, what do you want from me?
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
I want the real deal. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
And the real deal with you would be to date her, to get involved with her, romantically, correct?
No.
Yeah.
The real deal.
Wow.
What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Yeah.
Wham, bam.
What
Thank
kind
you,
of
officer.
relationship? A buddy relationship? You just want to go
Yeah.
The same thing everybody wants, a real relationship.
like a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins?
Oh.
Possible.
Yeah.
Right. And she was answering with things like,
He's like, oh, you got me.
now what? She answered,
I gotta say it.
I don't know. Correct?
Yes, she did.
When you asked, so now what? She answered, I'm sorry, when you said, so now what? She answered, now what? Correct?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't agree with you. If I'd like to see what you're referring to.
Well, you just read it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Would you quarrel if
I know, but this
Went all over your text.
You're giving me portions of it.
you were given portions of it by Mr. Lally as well,
Okay.
right? Did you text something like,
Touche.
now what? And she responded something like, now what?
I think on one occasion she did, yes.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
And you remember you just read a text where she texted, I'm sorry, you texted, what do you want from me? And her responsive text was, I don't know. Correct?
I think that was one of the texts.
Again, with this theme of her being non-committal, one way or the other. Is that right?
Well, that's not how I would interpret it as a theme, no.
Well, didn't you just say she was non-committal? That was your word, not mine.
Yeah.
I did, but as I told you, it's been a process of trying to suss it out and see what this was all about.
Right. So when you were sussing it out and determining whether or not you were...
She thought you were hot. You thought she was hot.
Interest, she was non-committal, wasn't she?
Well, not one person advances it. I think that's a joint thing.
When you texted, "You want the real deal," she responded, "It doesn't exist," didn't she?
She did, yes.
Real deal.
And she never once in any of those texts expressed anger or hatred toward John, correct?
No, not at all.
Matter of fact, she indicated more of frustration with the immediate family. The kids, she didn't want to have kids.
In its totality, I would say yes.
And then on January 23rd, as you just saw, she just stopped communicating with you altogether, correct?
Until the 29th, yes.
Correct. Do you know what the term ghosted means?
I think I have a general idea, yes.
She sort of ghosted you, didn't she?
I wouldn't agree with that.
That was frustrating to you, that she just stopped communicating, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
You had been moving through this mindset of exploring a romantic interest with a beautiful woman, thought was interested in you, and just like that, it was done, right?
No.
So what communication did you have with her after January 23rd?
Well, she texted me on January 29th.
You keep saying that, but you know what I'm getting to. January 29th was her informing you that a tragedy had occurred. John had died, right? I'm not talking about that, Mr. Higgins, so I don't want to keep playing games.
All right, so that's what we talked about. No more.
Talked about how she ghosted you.
After the 23rd,
she ghosted you.
Or up to the 23rd, she had been texting back and forth with you pretty regularly. You just saw it, correct?
She also sent me a text with arrows saying the phone works both ways.
And as of the 23rd, she stopped, didn't she?
The texts were sporadic over those 9 days. I don't know if they would have stopped or they would have kept going.
Well, they didn't keep going.
They didn't keep going.
Well, John passed away.
You know they didn't.
Oh my God.
On the 29th, dude.
On to the 24th, 25th.
6 days.
27th, 28th.
29th.
All the way to the 29th.
Yeah, that's ghosted, man.
She never texted you,
Yeah.
right?
I believe so.
She didn't respond.
Fell off the grid.
Texts, correct?
Well, she didn't respond to the text on the 28th Friday.
All right, why don't we take our lunch and recess, folks?
I think we acknowledged that he was interested in her romantically. He just didn't want to say it in court because then it secures his spot in the love triangle.
Yep.
All right, can we have Mr. Higgins, please?
Mr. Higgins, please.
Mr. Higgins, come on down.
Keep on deflecting.
You're the next contestant on this up ass court case.
Shit show. Shit
The Aunt
show.
Bev show, where she will guide the dance wherever you need to be.
Objection.
Objection. Objection. Objection. Are you Higgins? Objection. Sustained. You got to ask it differently.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Before we broke for lunch, we were talking about the text exchanges and the communication that you were having with Miss Reed in the days leading up to January 23rd. You recall that?
Yes.
It's fair to say that her text communications with you started to dwindle off in the days before the 23rd, correct?
They lagged.
As a matter of fact, you reached out to her in an effort to try to prompt the conversation to continue, did you not?
I reached out to her, but I wouldn't say that's what it was about.
Well, texted her stranger, didn't you? Not once, but twice.
I believe so.
Take a look, if you don't mind, at this is a page from what you've just seen.
So he needs the...
I'm sorry. That was right in front of you. May I approach?
Please.
Thank you.
May I approach?
He's polite.
He's very polite.
But he's a damn hammer, dude.
He is. Action Jackson.
Maybe that should just stay with Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. That's easy to find. It's literally the last page. With the court's permission, may I publish?
Yes.
Does that look like a fair representation of what you're looking at, the last page of that series of texts?
Yes.
And at the very top, could you read what you write in the blue bubbles starting at the top?
Ha ha, stranger, stranger.
And then what was the response from Miss Reed?
Hey, I was at the Hilly all weekend.
And what did you respond at that point?
I have not heard from you.
And by the way, if you look at the next date down, what's the date underneath I have not heard from you?
The 23rd.
So this would have preceded the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then on the 23rd, and by the way, after you texted, I have not heard from you, she did not respond, correct?
She did not respond.
Then on the 23rd, she did respond with phone works, correct?
In the arrows, like both ways.
Right.
Yep.
And then what did you text after that?
I just said, thought you were all set.
And how did she respond?
She said, we're talking? No.
That's all I have for that.
We're all set?
That's it.
We're going back in.
That's it, dude.
Clearly, with that last text, her response was, in response to you.
We're talking? No.
She said, with talking, no.
Talk to the hand.
Yes.
Because
That
the
indicates
face ain't listening.
with flirting, yes, we're all done.
No, I didn't read anything into it.
Okay. But you did read where she said, with talking, no, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, how?
I said, are you sure?
And did she respond?
No.
As a matter of fact,
Ghosted.
the next time you saw or communicated with her, she was walking into the Waterfall Bar on the 29th, early morning hours of the late night hours of the 28th, going into the early morning of the 29th, with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Now, you had discussed your flirtations, if I can use that word, that you had with Miss Reed with your friends, at least some of them, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
Do you recall that you openly shared the details of your interest in Miss Reed with your work supervisor at the DOJ?
Well, that was after I shared what happened, that she kissed me. Yes, I did share that with her.
And that was with...
That was the first time.
That was with a person by the name of Kate Dowd, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was before January 29th?
Yes.
And that's because your interest in Karen Reed, whether you call it romantic or sexual or whatever, your interest was something that was at least occupying your mind at that point, correct?
No.
It was occupying your mind enough to share it with your boss.
No, what I shared with my boss was the fact that she kissed me. That was it.
Same thing.
But why?
Flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed with Bryon Albert at any point?
Why did you discuss it?
Never.
No.
So you were on a 4-hour drive in a snowstorm back from New York with Mr. Reed. I'm sorry, with Mr. Albert, and your interest in Karen Reed never came up.
No.
Even though he's a good friend.
Yes, just something I wouldn't talk about.
You'd been drinking. Yes. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. I don't. It was after the hillside.
Did before Bryon Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
Was there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go to the Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day, that I would go down there and join them.
Didn't have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the Waterfall?
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there. I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Bryon about going to the Waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the waterfall or who was expected to come to the waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated?
No.
You had had several drinks before you even got to the waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately, you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
The Jeep.
To the waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the waterfall.
I'm sorry.
I was at the waterfall.
Left the waterfall, drove over to 34 Fairview.
I did, yes.
When John walked in to the waterfall, were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him.
Yes.
But she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing once she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you?
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So safe to say that throughout that evening, once she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or the friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening?
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it.
Absolutely, 100%.
She did. She ignored you.
Yep.
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you? Said hello, shook your hand,
No.
gave you a hug?
Nothing.
Just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Yeah, it does.
What was
Bro.
the thing?
Say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
That's ignoring you.
Like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
That's real world. She didn't
No,
acknowledge
she
your
did not ignore
existence.
me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was working.
Interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
In my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person
Everybody
she did come over
except you.
and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well,
You.
I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
She actually positioned herself
Well, we do, sir.
other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no.
Did
I don't know.
that upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough
crap.
to send her a text, didn't it?
He was butthurt.
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just,
Right here.
that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said, with 6 M's behind it,
Okay.
and, well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just, well, like a well in the
Pause it for a sec, Steve.
6 M's is a lot of
Dude, he was ignored 110%.
Of course.
And he was butthurt about it,
Of course. Yeah.
right?
She ghosted him.
You have 9 days of texting, and all of a sudden nothing. You don't even give the time of day to the guy.
And you see him in the bar with his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you literally walk in and look and turn and walk the other way.
Yeah.
That's ignoring.
Yeah. And he knew he was because he sent that text message. Well, what about me?
That's exactly what he's saying. He's saying, well, you're here with John, but what about me?
Me. Yeah.
All right.
Damn guy. Roll
I
it.
think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant,
Exactly,
We do.
sir.
well, when are you going to pay attention to me?
No, that's not
There you
correct.
go.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr.
onions.
Jackson, let's move on.
Let's move on. That's what he meant. He knows it. He just don't want to say it.
At the end of the night,
Was he-
the group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
There was discussion at the table of like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately, it was 34 Fairview. Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she? Can you say that again? When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct? Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her, yes. Okay.
Yes.
She didn't respond.
She answered. Correct.
She ignored the text, correct?
She did.
Well, I don't know if she, I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored
Jackson, he's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. I don't know if she actually read it or
see
not.
it? I don't know. I didn't read it.
Maybe it wasn't delivered.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
That means she ignored you. Wow.
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Bryon Albert's house, correct?
Yes.
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave the waterfall.
Waterfall.
Probably.
I mean, if you're if everybody's herding out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that? An acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
Did my Irish exit.
That's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too.
The Irish exit.
Correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that, at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation, and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20?
Sorry, 12:20.
12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34 Fairview?
No.
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the waterfall and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview than you were to getting Karen to come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But you did text John.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a reason he didn't text Karen and he texted John.
Yep.
We all know that reason.
Setting a trap.
That you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway, yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with the court's permission, Exhibit 66? Okay.
The mailbox is on the
Right side.
If you're facing the house on the left side.
Yeah.
Not a photograph.
I thought he was all the way up in the driveway.
Do you see what's depicted in Exhibit 66?
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
I do.
Do you see the mailbox, which is out right there?
Yes.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct?
He's facing that way.
He parked on the street.
Yeah.
Mailbox being right there. You'd have been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. Where a laser pointer is, it would be the front.
Okay, so the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole.
Towards Chapman Street, correct.
And the rear of the Jeep was basically even
north.
with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past The driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6-foot, what inch plow?
I think it was a 6'8", 6 foot.
Meaning the width.
Meaning the width, yes.
How deep is that plow?
How deep? Like
2 foot, 3 feet, 6 inches?
I mean, it's probably a few inches.
Okay.
It's light duty. It's on a Jeep.
Okay. And it's obviously curved and canted to the right?
No, it wasn't canted at all. It was straight down.
Okay, so it's not like I guess I'm picturing in my mind, I don't know that I've ever seen one, that the front of the Jeep is not parallel to the plow. In other words, it would plow stuff off to the right.
Right.
Is that not right?
Plows usually are set up like this, so when you drive, it pushes it off to the side. It can't be straight.
As it relates to the front end of the Jeep, is it perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted one way or another?
So when you're driving straight locally, where you're not going to have to worry about overheating the Jeep, I would just have the Jeep, the plow straight. If I was on the highway for a long distance, I'd be worried about overheating, so I would canter the plow, tilt it up so that air could get through the front grille.
So in other words, you can control it?
I can, yes.
How was it that night? How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
It was straight and straight on.
All right. When you walked into 34 Fairview, you indicated that there were people congregated basically in the kitchen area, correct?
There were some people in the kitchen area, yes.
How many people were at the high top table that you described?
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Bryon Jr., and he was flanked by one, possibly two females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening, correct?
I was like I would describe it as diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Bryon Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right. So you moved out of that area with Bryon Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yes, and I think his wife, Nicole, might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me, and I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to. I'm not a beer drinker.
So if they had whiskey, you would have stayed longer?
Yep, that's what you're saying.
You've indicated in a prior testimony that you've never been upstairs in Bryon's house, correct?
When you say upstairs, like were you talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes. No.
Okay.
That's the term, upstairs.
Is that right? In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
yes.
Right? All right. You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath?
Yes.
You were telling the truth?
Yes.
Same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were, yes.
So the only floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor upstairs from the basement would be what?
The first floor.
So if someone were to describe going upstairs to look at the photos that you've described on the first floor, where would they have to be to go upstairs to look at those photos?
Second floor.
Are you saying on the first floor?
Correct. If the photos are on the first floor,
yeah,
and someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos, where would they have to be?
I guess upstairs.
The people would have to be upstairs?
People would be in the basement.
Photos would be upstairs. Is that what you're saying?
Where are the people? Where would the people have to be to go upstairs to the living room to look at the photos?
I'm not understanding the question.
He knows exactly what he's asking.
Mr. Higgins.
Yes.
The only floor beneath it is the basement.
Okay.
And someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos. Where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
All right, so Mr. Jackson, you can save this for argument. Next question, please.
Oh, Auntie stepped in.
Wow. Nice save, Annie Beth.
Objection.
Assistant.
Now, Brian Albert had a...
He's lying because he's not an idiot. He's lying.
Someplace in the house,
He
right?
just doesn't want to admit it.
In a gym.
I guess he called it a home gym.
Where was that?
In the basement.
Had you ever been down to that basement before?
Yes, one time.
When was that?
That was during the twins' graduation party.
Patty.
Summertime before...
Summertime before, yes.
Summer of 2021?
Maybe.
So if Brian Albert testified that you've never been in the basement, that would not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you do recall giving testimony at another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You were under oath. Is that right?
Yes.
You knew that it was a crime to lie under oath?
Yes.
In that proceeding?
Get him out.
During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to ask to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during...
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins, is did you
That's
say
the
that?
question, brother.
Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to somebody's brother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Dude, he's dodging everything, man.
But Alan's going to let him hang himself. He always does.
Yeah.
He leads you one way,
And pow!
gets you to say all this stuff, and then boom, yanks you back the other way. But yeah, he knows.
You indicated that a male showed up who may have been Julie Nagel's brother, correct?
I said might have, yes.
Right. But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up, and you described him as tall and dark-haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. Question, did that male come inside the house? Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Well, when you testified at the prior hearing, you were asked, so you saw someone else come? Question. Answer, somebody else. Yes. End quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
Oh my God.
Page
What else could it be in reference to?
483.
That's a good dodge, though. Good deflect. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Look at the top part that's been highlighted.
Thank you, Steve.
He's reading it going, holy.
I did say that.
Oh, shit. What did I say? Why did I say this? Why'd you let me say this?
Let me rethink this.
I'm so screwed. He's like, all right, now how can I get out of this? How can I weasel my way
He
out
knows
of
what
this?
he knows what he said. He's just trying to recalculate what he can say to get out of it.
That's what sucks about lying.
That in
Once
mind?
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
Once you start lying, man, it's tough to remember, cover what you said, especially under oath.
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes, correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying attention.
Question. Was that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
You also said that you
nervous scratch.
remember seeing that person come in briefly, and it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls, briefly, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller. They had dark hair, correct?
Dark,
yes.
Handsome.
So you testified that a
Describe me.
dark-haired male
Dark,
came
handsome
into the
guy.
house, at least briefly, in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you gave your statement to the Massachusetts State Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you, on February 3rd?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Conveniently left that part out.
Asked by ADA Lally when you testified before the state court grand jury on April 28th, 2022, who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
Tall, dark, handsome man.
Yeah.
Ghost.
June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
Yes.
And that's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house. Yes or no? Yes or no? It was that proceeding.
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, let's just skip over the ghost.
Are the quotes that I just read you and that you just looked at?
Yes.
That was from the June 1, 2023 hearing, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It's amazing how he's trying to establish something and the judge is just like, next question, next question. Don't worry about that. Nothing to see here. Next question. They're trying to establish if that was John O'Keefe or whoever, but there's a reason he didn't tell the cops when he was interviewed that guy was there.
She's doing the prosecutor's job.
May I approach, ma'am? Yes.
You may approach, sir.
That's what was just read, and that's another page. Just take a look at that page and see if you see a date on it. The first page.
I see it, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What's the date, sir?
June 1st?
2023?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Albert residence in total? Like from the time you got there till the time you left?
Maybe like a half hour, less than an hour.
And what time did you leave? Say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1 a.m.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
At the house?
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later, turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of there, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left.
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
Because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right. So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back to the Canton Police Department at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
Drinking.
Vehicles, correct.
To move vehicles in a snowstorm.
Let's talk about you leaving. You walked out.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No.
Breezeway door, correct?
Yes.
You walked down the driveway.
Yes.
Yep.
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over.
Body.
I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, it wasn't some
body.
Dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just
Like a body.
flat grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Yeah, but he plowed their driveway, remember?
You only stayed
Yeah,
less
well,
than an hour,
it was the
right?
driveway.
That's correct.
So I'm
He's asking him, did you, the front yard just looked perfectly white.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree that it's not 3, it wouldn't have been 3 feet, no.
right. So it would have been a light dusting of snow.
More snow than there was there.
So if it's the ground is white, you'll see a body, right?
Deformation of the snow.
Well, not just that, but the contradiction of the colors,
Yeah.
you know,
Would you
white
say
and then dark.
It was from the edge of the driveway over to your Jeep.
From where the back of my Jeep was parked,
Correct.
maybe a foot or 2, or it could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard to down the driveway to get to your Jeep?
Short,
25 feet.
30 feet?
maybe.
Okay. During the course of you walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No,
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
of course not.
Now,
course
you get
not.
in your car, and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's
Yes.
facing
Just say
directly up
yes.
the street. The flagpole would be off to the 1
Yes.
o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well, you just said 1 o'clock. You're a
Yes.
former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on a watch. 12 o'clock is due north or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
Okay. So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
Sitting in the driver's seat, you put the car in gear and you begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
Did a key cycle.
Yeah, key cycle.
Key cycle. Did a key cycle.
Right?
Yes.
Or ignition
Picked it back
cycle.
up,
Yes.
looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated, and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up, and I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward.
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you,
On the road, yes.
and everything in your peripheral vision
On the road.
is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside toward the lawn. Wasn't another car parked there.
No,
Just say no.
there was no vehicles in front of me, no.
It was the roadway was relatively empty.
Clear.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
I would have said,
Is that right?
Yes.
Did that put you in a position of being a first responder?
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic, yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road in the lawn or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't ask
would have
you
done
if you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was,
he's pissed right there.
correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Yeah, he's hitting some nerves.
Yeah,
You
he's
see the way
pissed.
he's changing?
His lips are, he's got a sad-faced look.
Where
Brown.
exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton police station.
He's changing.
Yeah.
When you were asked on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory about where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that morning?
Yeah, drunk in the middle of a snowstorm.
Move the cars, remember?
Why did you go to the Canton Police Department that morning?
Yeah,
That night. The morning when I left 34 Fairview, the Friday into Saturday?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, bro.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that.
Of course you don't.
You had an initial
let's talk about it.
with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
Correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned.
I said administrative things.
You said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr.
Semantics, right?
You didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out, that's correct.
Right, and you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later, right?
I was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton?
Then you don't have to go all the way back.
Parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Yeah. After you've been drinking and it's snowing? No.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles.
He was there. I tell you why he was there.
We'll talk about the video.
Well, alibi. Canton PD is his alibi. He thinks that's going to save him because he went right to the police station and not home. He's on camera. They're seeing him. He's got an alibi now. I left right there and I went right to
entered the Canton police station through which door?
Makes sense to me.
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you...
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time that at least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
With access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that floor, that area, correct?
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time if you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls, call-outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that and I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you walked in, you'd just be completely oblivious to anything that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that?
Objection.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
You were able to monitor. You'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
No.
So, how long?
Dude, the radios would be going off.
From Canton PD?
A little longer from when after I moved the vehicles?
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
He's a partier, dude.
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
In any of the prior testimony that you've given in this case, have you ever indicated, that you slept on the couch that night?
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you testified.
Well, those would be the two. Those would be the two options.
Okay. I didn't ask you about your options. I asked you if you reviewed your testimony before you testified today.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify that you slept on the couch that night?
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Not that I know.
Did you ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, you put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine, yes.
When he gets nervous, he scratches his cheek.
Any calls after returning home that night?
No.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had two at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't use Snapchat and you, quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m., that call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie.
Well, it's not your friend.
No, it wasn't a lie.
But your butt dial.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but two phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
Of course.
May I approach you?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
If you missed a phone call, I'd say a missed phone call.
Right. Well, he's the one who called Albert with a 22-second butt dial that they say never
How
happened.
can you do a butt dial when he's sleeping?
Thank you.
Can't do a butt dial when your phone's up here on a nightstand. That's why he was harping so bad on the nightstand.
At least the top one.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little. I don't think we've introduced them.
You don't need to follow, Bev. You're going to object and
Object,
sustain
sustain
anyway.
it.
At least at this point.
You just sit up
We should
there.
get a
And,
shirt that says sustained.
yeah, sustained. Just sit there and do your thing.
Yes.
They look pretty, but
May I approach?
Yeah.
These are, you know what, I'm gonna, if it's okay with the court, may the witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
He's like,
Maintain your documents,
He's
sir.
thinking right now, I'm going to get out. How can I not recall this?
Yeah. How can I set this up?
Only for identification with the court's permission.
Okay. As one exhibit?
We can do it as one exhibit, that's fine.
Okay. Could you please hand those to Madam Court Reporter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry, what was it?
Thank you.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, you see the document on the lower right. It has a page number, or there's a numeric indicator 01770. In other words, 1770.
On the lower right-hand corner?
In the right. I mean, in the red.
It says 01771.
Look at the next page. I think they're just out of order.
Back page.
Why don't you come show
Am I
me?
missing something?
You're missing a lot of things, bro. Missing a lot of things, but attention to detail.
Exactly. ATF.
It's right over the top. That's the protocol. It's okay. It's okay.
1770, 1771.
QQ, and the one with 1771, because the other numbers.
When you're referencing them. When you're referencing them?
When I'm referencing them.
Okay.
Take a look at the one that's marked with the QQ.
I see it.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct.
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Bryon Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Bryon Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Bryon Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Bryon Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
That's what happened. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Can't deny the records.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Bryon Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you?
Ooh.
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
He lied.
There's a 22 seconds
See how angry he got?
in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's argument.
You son of a...
If we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
Oh, I can't do that
I
right
didn't
now.
have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds
can.
The other
to
one.
have a conversation?
No.
You can't, a human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds.
Sure, they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it 22 seconds long?
Pause that, Steve. Okay. So you just heard what he said. 22 seconds is not long enough to have a conversation with substance. So I'll hit you with this. Bring, bring, bring. Yeah, honey, I'm at the hospital. Our daughter went through surgery. She didn't make it. About 4 seconds.
That's a lot of substance.
Does that have substance? Yeah, it does. So he's lying. The way he's getting so angry, he's getting mad because he's lying.
You're catching him in a lie.
Well, not just that, but usually when you're lying, the more loud you get and boisterous you get because you're trying to prove you're angry because they're accusing you of lying.
Yeah.
But just honestly shows that you're lying even more.
Yeah. You're trying to project a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Let's do this. Let's do this first.
We got you. We got you. Because Mr. Jackson, Aunt Bev did not give you 22 seconds, right? We are going to do it.
Oh, it doesn't have my cues. You have to read it yourself.
Sorry, wrong one.
I can't even read that very good though, bro.
It doesn't matter. You ready?
You read it. You do this. You do this.
No.
You do this.
No,
I'll mess it up.
Come on, come on. Steve's going to put 22 seconds on the clock. Somewhere over here. Okay? Steve, you ready?
Yep.
And go. Is it done?
Yes.
Where's the body?
Basement.
Story?
Proctor has the lead. Karen's going to take the hit for it.
Is everything set?
Proctor will take care of Karen, car, and stall the scene.
Make the scene good. No mistakes. Plant all evidence. Dump the phones.
Copy that.
Stick to the script, and this will work.
Does Bev have our back?
All good. Get to work. There you go. That's 22 seconds.
Wow,
give or take. So, and I kind of sprung this on G. We usually don't script anything here. We fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
This was, when I saw that, I realized, you know what, 20 seconds is a hell of a long time. If I knew everything that those cops in this case knew, and he knew it, we could absolutely sum this entire thing up in 22 seconds. Absolutely guaranteed. Cover it from start to finish in 22 seconds.
Bro, the thing is that this was not a spur of the moment call that they had. They probably planned this situation, this murder.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's a small group of guys, bro, they have those conversations all the time.
Of course. And not that it was, we're saying that it was premeditated.
Right.
Because it could have been something as Higgins texts O'Keefe, where are you at? He shows up, they want to fight.
Remember.
Okay, it's fine. But they fight, and maybe it's not a fair fight, but they hit John a couple times, because remember, he died from
blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma to the head only. They hit him a couple times. He falls, hits his head.
On the weights,
or they hit him in the head with the weight. They didn't think they hit him that hard, and now he's dead.
Yeah.
Now you got a body laying in your basement. So that's what that phone call would look like.
You have to remember, he had a 4-hour drive back with, what's his name?
Yep.
Right? They could have planned a bunch of stuff. And he was the first one to arrive at his house, too.
Oh, of course, yeah. We're not saying it was premeditated, but if it was, it would be even easier.
It stinks.
All right. Hit it, Steve.
Now, when you were asked about this...
You're welcome, Alan Jackson. We gave you 22 seconds.
Yes.
I hope you see this.
You had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
So you think it's possible that you may have...
Let me get a stretch.
Crying out.
22 seconds. I butt dialed you? My bad.
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone.
Got to say that.
Correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You have an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number for the reflecting those records is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Is that right?
It says missed call.
I don't know how mine's set up at the time. I don't know.
Bull,
You
dude.
don't have to set it up.
You go to recents, it shows.
You don't set that up.
Correct?
Yeah, you don't set that
I
up.
can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does
They show
not
up in red.
automatically call people back.
No, it
That
does
is
not.
not a thing, right?
No, it does
A
not.
call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yeah, no.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position, navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact.
As a matter of fact, you can't do any butt dials on the iPhone. It's impossible.
Not anymore.
It's locked screen.
Yeah.
You can break it down.
Not anymore. Very hard.
In order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6 digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or a 6 digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or Face ID.
Well, if you have
You have
a
both.
both.
You have both.
digit code as
You
well.
have to have. Yeah.
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone?
You know
with
so.
ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
That's not what he
You
asked.
also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
I don't know necessarily.
Gotta hit the little green button.
If you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there, I have never thought about it.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit it
Just like that.
Yes.
Just like that.
Right?
22 seconds. That was a long 22 seconds. Wow.
Interactions
Good job, Steve.
with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak.
Notice how he keeps saying that? He really is harping on, I have no recollection. He's got to say that. Yeah. But he's lying. He made the call. He knows it.
Records of that prior hearing. In that hearing, at least, you finally admitted that you did, in fact, call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form and ask her appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
What are you wearing, booby?
Previously testify that you did, in fact, make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of it.
Breathing.
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back, end quote, and you answered, yes. And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins.
Yeah.
Answer my question.
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of I must have.
Yes.
Then you were asked. The answer was yes. And then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
It was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing, yes.
About this whole thing, what? The whole murder?
Exactly.
The whole death? About this whole thing. What whole thing? It's 2:22 in the morning. There was no thing.
Yep.
There was no whole thing to even talk about, right?
It's done.
You're saying there was no thing.
Highlighted answer.
Yes.
What's the question? Please read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Yeah, you may approach.
I don't recall. Oh,
I'm
yes.
about to tear this dude a new ass.
Yeah. So you can never butt dial again.
Then said a little bit further in the same conversation, I did not have a conversation, correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call. end quote. That's what you said at the other hearing under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
Sure.
May I approach? May I approach? Yep.
May I?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
May I?
same page.
Thank you.
The bottom portion in pink. If you could read that answer to yourself, please.
He's scanning
have
real
that in
quick,
mind, sir?
dude.
No,
He's
can I have a
scanning.
minute, please?
He's scanning it.
He's scanning it, but he's also thinking, how am I going to get out of
Yeah.
this?
Yep.
Because now I just admitted that I made a call. I called him back.
Well, he said he didn't. Now
Yeah,
he
now
admitted.
he's saying he didn't. But that's why, again, once you start the lying game,
You can't dig yourself out of that
It's
hole,
so
dude.
hard, yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're going to find yourself on administrative leave and then fired.
Yeah.
Is
I think
that
he's on
your
admin leave
recollection
now.
About how you answered that question?
Yes.
And your answer was,
And-
it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything, and then I terminated the call. That's the only thing.
Meaning it's possible it could have happened.
It's possible it could have happened that you had a 22-second call with Brian Albert,
I
correct?
did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no conversation.
Yeah, you
You've had
did.
some time to think about this 2:22 a.m. call, correct? Since that last testimony.
Some time to think about it?
Yeah.
That's a nail.
I haven't really.
One nail
No.
in the
For
coffin.
over a year, you haven't even considered the fact that you were caught with a phone record lying about not having a conversation with Brian Albert at 2:22.
Look at,
Objection.
yep, he was looking at the other guy. Yeah, the attorney.
Mr. Higgins,
Said,
what
hey,
was
dude,
so
do something.
important that you and Brian Albert needed to discuss something at 2:22 in the morning?
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
And why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Sustained.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Yeah.
Was that substance?
That's substance. That's substance. That was what, 6 seconds?
Yeah.
That was substance.
Yeah. Dude, it's this Action Jackson, dude, you have to be ready,
Mhm.
right? But it
As these guys
wouldn't
should.
be difficult if you didn't have to lie. That's the whole thing.
Once you start lying, it's a cascade of failures, and it just makes you look bad. And better off telling the truth. It'd be better off just saying, "Hey, man, we got into a fight, and yeah, I punched him, and he fell and hit his head, and he died." You know, because it probably wouldn't even go to jail,
No.
most
You
likely.
could even say it was self-defense, and you
But-
have corroborating witnesses.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, you would have been better off just doing that.
Yeah.
You know, versus the whole cover-up thing. But we're not saying they did. I'm not saying they didn't. We don't know. This is just our opinion.
Let the evidence talk.
Yep. Roll it, Steve.
I think that's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
That was it?
Yeah, it's an hour and 17 minutes.
Oh,
That was
okay.
part one. Part two will be coming up.
Oh, that's right. My bad. I forgot. This is part
You got
one.
carried away.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. Well, this is good stuff. Stuff that people need to see. We didn't,
Well,
we didn't even get to the part where he destroys his phone into two different
Yeah.
trash cans.
Yeah, that's the next
That's
video.
normal. Anytime I buy
I
a new
do that.
phone, I take out the SIM
I make
card,
sure I
throw it in
destroy it.
one can, and then I go over to another can on a military base.
Military, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, we hope you got a kick out of this one. This was fun for us. We'll do part 2 next, and we also have Dr. Wolf coming up.
You can change it. You can see his demeanor when he starts getting pressed hard and he gets caught. You can change his demeanor, really change.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah,
And for us as cops on the streets, when we were talking to people, suspects, we already knew what the crime was.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to get them a confession. Yes.
Confession.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry.
Convention.
Confession. You can see their body language, and that's a telltale sign.
It will tell you everything.
Yeah.
So when he got angry, that's why he was getting angry. He's lying, and I'm pretty sure maybe it's part 2, but one part he gets like the 1,000-yard stare, and he's just staring down, and his eyes are open. And I swear, and I'll point it out, America, when I
his
see
soul
it.
leaves his body.
he's reliving what happened.
Yeah.
He's literally there because there's a stall in the action and he's staring away just straight and he's just staring 1,000-yard stare. And I know that stare.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he was probably reliving or thinking about what they did that night.
Yeah.
Because he's not listening to anything. He's just staring off into space.
Yep.
And that happens a lot.
Yep.
So especially when critical incidents, you know.
His OODA loop got messed up.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Part 2 is coming out next. Dr. Wolf. And we got Brian Albert.
Yeah.
His is good. Oh, so good.
Okay.
So thanks for watching.
And those for still serving, have a safe tour duty, please.
Make a difference in someone's life. Stay classy, Las Vegas.
Always.
Question Mac.
The beer. Bye.
The beer.
Bye.
1 Sam 5 and 1 Sam 6, copy of 425 call.
Copy. 1 Sam 5 en route.
1 Sam 6, copy, en route.